When most people think of Saudi Arabia, they think of a country that got filthy rich off of oil or the numerous human rights violations the country has been a part of. Saudi Arabia is aware of this, and they want to change their perception of them to the world. Hence why Saudi Arabia has decided to take over the largest sport on this planet, football. So how are Saudi Arabia doing this? Well, the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia, Mohammed bin Salman, is spearheading the Vision 2030 plan, which is an intention to diversify Saudi Arabia's economy to more than just oil. Like, one of the many ideas is to increase tourism by attempting to build attractive projects like a cube-shaped skyscraper called Muqab, or even the famous Line, which is said to be a 170-kilometer long city in the shape of a line, like the name suggests. However, the most important aspect of the Vision 2030 plan, in my opinion, is Saudi Arabia's plan to take over sports, and specifically football. Saudi Arabia has already accomplished some of this thanks to their ridiculous amount of wealth. For example, they've already had big sporting events in their country, like hosting boxing fights, F1 races, and even having Saudi-backed Live Golf, merging with the famous PGA Tour, meaning that golf will now be heavy in Saudi Arabia. Most importantly though, Saudi Arabia's plan is to take over the footballing landscape. You see, Saudi Arabia is football crazy, with a reported 63.3% of Saudi Arabia's population being under 30 years old, and 80% of them reportedly love football. And we don't even have to look too far back to see this affection for the sport, because of Saudi Arabia being one of the most fan-backed countries at the 2022 World Cup, where they beat the eventual champions Argentina on opening day. Now, as we all know, the Saudi Pro League has been splashing the cash on superstars this summer transfer window, and I feel like most people think that this summer was the start of Saudi Arabia's takeover in football. But in reality, Saudi Arabia has had a heavy presence in football for many years now. In fact, without many of you realizing, Saudi Arabia has been taking over the beautiful game since around 2018. For example, the Italian Super Cup has been hosted in Saudi Arabia since then, and then a year later, the Spanish Super Cup started being hosted in the kingdom as well. Not only that, Saudi Arabia's government funding for football, PIF, acquired Newcastle United in the Premier League, with the impact of Saudi Arabia's riches already being seen on the club, with them qualifying for the Champions League in less than 2 years since the takeover, and the signings of upcoming superstars like Bruno Guimaraes, Sandro Tonali, Alexander Isak, etc. Not only that, there are rumors going around right now that even Chelsea are backed by this so-called PIF, with Saudi Arabia reportedly having billions of pounds of assets managed by Clear Lake Capital, an investment firm that Todd Boehly is the face of. Chelsea have since denied these claims, but it's still important for you to know that this might be a thing. Anyways, let's talk about why most of you people probably clicked this video. The 2023 summer transfer window that Saudi Arabia took over. In my opinion, this was always bound to happen. Here's why. But real quick before we talk about that though, please remember to subscribe to the channel. I would really appreciate it, and it means a lot, so thank you. And also, if you guys can, please follow my Twitter and Instagram, both at Nabuto, if you want to hear my thoughts on football games, transfers, and overall just to get to know me more. So if you want to, feel free to hit me up with that follow. I would really appreciate it. Anyways, back to the video. There's a public investment fund that I mentioned earlier, nicknamed PIF, which is helping take over football in Saudi Arabia, with that being around 6th place among the world's largest wealth fund. This means that this public investment fund has around $600 billion estimated within it, and is reportedly ready to spend this much on football. Now, nobody knows whether this $600 billion amount is the minimum or not, because nobody truly knows how rich Saudi Arabia are, and how much they're willing to spend on the sport of football. But this is just the beginning, so buckle up. Basically, the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia, Mohammed bin Salman, is pretty much the leader of this PIF, and now has a 75% stake in the 4 biggest clubs in the country: Al Nasser, Al Ahly, Al Ittihad, and the biggest club in Saudi, with all due respect, Al Hilal, the most successful club in AFC Champions League history, with them winning it 4 times. So basically, with this takeover, the top 4 clubs in Saudi Arabia are going to be heavily invested into by pretty much the government itself, and we can already see this pretty clearly already, with Jota, Fabinho, and N'Golo Kante, and recent Ballon d'Or winner Karim Benzema joining Al Ittihad, Demiral, Ibanez, Frank Kessie, Edouard Mendy, Riyad Mahrez, Alan Saint-Maximin, and Roberto Firmino joining Al Ahly, Bono, Koulibaly, Milinkovic-Savic, Mitrovic, Ruben Neves, Malcolm, and Brazilian superstar Neymar joining Al Hilal, and finally Otavio, Seko Fofana, Alex Telles, Brozovic, Sadio Mane, and of course the all-time great Cristiano Ronaldo joining Al Nassr. Now, you could say Cristiano Ronaldo pretty much sparked the Saudi Arabia revolution, if you will. That's because before the 2022 World Cup, Cristiano Ronaldo was having a tough time at his old club Manchester United, with him barely starting games and not getting along with the manager Erik ten Hag. This then sparked him to make an interview with Piers Morgan, where he mentioned he got an offer from Saudi Arabia but turned it down. However, after Manchester United and Ronaldo terminated their contract mutually, discussions opened up again for a move to Saudi Arabia, and a couple of weeks later, Cristiano Ronaldo signed with Al Nassr for 2 years, with him getting $200 million per season. Now, this was an insane signing at the time, and way out of the ordinary. Cristiano Ronaldo is easily a top 3 player of all time, and the most followed person on Instagram with over 600 million followers. So why, out of all places, would he go to Saudi Arabia to further his football career, when the United States of America, a country known for marketing and and for money wanted him too. Well, nobody at the time knew it, but Cristiano Ronaldo's signing was a signing of intent from Saudi Arabia, and a signing to tell the world that they're ready to take over. Even before these crazy signings happened this summer, Saudi Arabia stated publicly that they wanted to be a top 10 league in football by the time 2030 comes around, and this would somehow help them in their bid to FIFA to acquire the 2030 or 2034 World Cup to Saudi Arabia. And Cristiano Ronaldo at the time went one step further, with him saying he could easily see Saudi Arabia becoming a top 5 league in the world. Everyone, including me, thought Ronaldo was crazy, and that he probably got paid for saying this. But now, shit, Ronaldo doesn't seem too crazy for saying that anymore. In fact, Saudi Arabia might already be a top 10 league in the world with these signings they've already made. So this brings up the question, with what Saudi Arabia is doing, is it sustainable? I mean, we've already seen a country trying to take over this sport and failing miserably. China as the example. If you guys don't remember, Xi Jinping, the president of China, wanted China to be World Cup champions by 2050 and greenlighted projects such as building football schools and of course allowing the Chinese Super League to be backed by rich companies and allowing them to splurge the cash. And that's what some Chinese clubs did, with them signing star players like Oscar, Graziano Pele, Carlos Tevez, El Shaarawy, Bakambu, Hulk, Alex Teixeira, Jackson Martinez, Alexander Pato, etc. by offering them extremely lucrative contracts. However, a few years after this, the Chinese Super League went back to zero. Why? Well, China's entire plan was to grow the game in the country, but the signing of international superstars wasn't exactly helping. There was then a large tax implemented on signings of international players, which then limited non-Chinese players on some rosters, and with China still having a poor infrastructure and growing players, plus when COVID hit, a lot of Chinese clubs just went extinct. For example, Jiangsu Suning, a club backed by Suning Holdings, won the Chinese Super League in 2020, but after the pandemic and before the 2021 season, the club went extinct after many financial issues that were hitting the company back in the club. So who says what happened to China won't happen to Saudi Arabia? Both of their goals are pretty similar, right? Wrong. Well, not the goals part. They are pretty similar, but Saudi Arabian money is not Chinese money. There's levels to this. China was buying players like Pato, Oscar, Hulk, while Saudi Arabia splurged on players like Cristiano Ronaldo, Karim Benzema, and Neymar Junior. It's not the same playing field. Plus, with Saudi Arabia's football crazy and youthful population, this would only help them grow into loving the game and even maybe help motivate Saudi Arabian citizens to become pros themselves. There is one problem that I could see occur though, and that's what happens after Neymar leaves Al Hilal or Ronaldo leaves Al Nassr. Will Ronaldo fans who watch the club because of him stay to watch Al Nassr games after he leaves? To be honest, I'm not so sure. But maybe having international fans watching the Saudi Arabia League isn't Saudi Arabia's main goal after all, and instead is to grow their population's love for the game. Who truly knows? But what I do know is that I really need to catch a flight to Saudi Arabia. I gotta watch Cristiano Ronaldo and Neymar Junior before they both retire. I've already seen Messi from the Holy Trinity. I need to see the other two before they go. So if anybody in Saudi Arabia got some cheap places to stay at, let me know in the comments. Anyways, if you enjoyed this video, please remember to subscribe. I would really appreciate it. And also, please remember to follow my Twitter and Instagram. The links are in my YouTube description. And real quick before you go, if you want to learn more about Jadon Sancho, a top prodigy who has fallen off in recent years, you definitely want to check out this video right here. You won't regret it.